Hey, good morning, everyone. This is Moin from Stanford University, and welcome to our presentation about revealing the black box of the device search engine, NDSS strategies and ethical consideration. So today we are going to dive into the unknown world of device search engine. Let's get started. Which one should I press? Okay. Have you ever wondered why is your living room on the internet? Why is your security camera is available to watch by others? And how do attackers find their victims effectively? So here is one example of the Shulu botnet. They can find numerous victims at 1 second and to propagate. Well, the answer lies into the powerful device search engines. So device search engines is like Google, but they are engines for internet-connected devices. They can scan ports, cities, products, and screenshots. Here is an example of the Shodan when we search for the NDSS website. It shows that the website's IP runs an OpenSSH service on the port 22. So given their powerful ability, do they always play as white hat, or what if they do something bad? Our paper is the first measurement study on the working strategies of device search engines. We have 3 key questions. So the first one, what scanning strategies do they apply? And how do they identify services on ports? And the third one is also the important one. Will the scanning of them introduce any security privacy concerns to these services being scanned? So to know what they are doing, the main challenge lies into differentiate the engine scanning activities from others. Our insight is to find a service about IP mirror service. Some network services may include visitors' IP for debugging or error prompting. So we can see the example from the SIP service. It shows the connecting address in the response. So if the Shodan scan it and record it, show their records on their websites, we can see Shodan's IP on the recorded. After checking mainstream engines, we found that IP mirror services are widely scanned and logged by the engines. And we also find 3 formats of IPs. So first one is the standard IPs. It is like the MySQL, it will tell this IP is not allowed to connect to the server. And reverse IP in SMTP, it's usually used for reverse DNS records. Also the URL encoding IP. Usually in HTTP service. We also find that Shodan is concealing their IPs by broadcasting IPs. They will replace it one by one. So our methodology starts from the preliminary study. We manually collected the mirror type. Like we can find MySQL service with not connected records. And then we iteratively to find new scan IPs and use these IPs records to find new mirror types. After that, using the 1 year's data set, we find 1,407 scanner IPs on 4 engines. We then use our honeypot to monitor their actions. So we learn the strategies from the traffic of honeypots. Here we find that FOFA and Zoomai do not use fixed scanning assets. We can see the figures in the middle. Each line is an IP's lifespan. We use the first time and the last time we see it in the honeypot. And we can find that Censys is always adding their IPs and do not remove the IPs. But FOFA, it is regularly change their IPs for every 3 months. So about the protocol identification strategy, they have 3 other strategies. The neighbor strategy means they usually send prop service on neighbor ports, not only for the default purpose ports such as RDP and its 3389 port. They also try to scan it on 3388 and 3390. So if you want to hide your service, do not migrate to the neighbors. You can make some random ports to migrate it. Also for the fallback strategies, when they fail to identify protocols on specific ports, they will get different services. Except for the HTTP and the HTTPS, FOFA will guess it might be an FTP, and Zoomai is trying their best to find every RDP service. Now let's talk about ethics. Ethical consideration is very important for us security researchers, as the paper submission process now requires us to carefully evaluate whether our work poses any ethical risks. Actually, there are two engines that have already considered ethical things. One is CMAP. CMAP is the basic tool of Censys. And another is ONFI. Their CEO gave a talk in CTIS 2022 to talk about ethical internet scanning. And he said the scanning should be a dedicated subject to discuss. So our goal is to find an ethical way of internet scanning. To better understand the ethical problems that the engines might involve, we refer to 5 kinds of references. And we concluded into 3 dimensions: transparency, harmlessness, and anonymity. So for the transparency, we can, The red face means the engines do not do nothing on this section. And FOFA and Zoomai, it makes users cannot identify whether the scans originated from FOFA or Zoomai. The surprising thing is that although Censys proposed the first action, they did not implement it. Okay, for the harmlessness, some engines go beyond simple scanning and attempt to access sensitive paths or configurations. We recommended data minimizing principle for during scanning. So to minimize the scanning, we think it's a prop that can confirm a service on a port. If you send a ping, and Redis will tell you a POM. If you ask Zookeeper, are you okay? It will return and I'm okay. But the engines are usually doing infiltration scannings. It's like try to opening the door and say, hey, there is an unlocked door, it is unsafe. But if you don't open the door, you don't notice. Okay, so this is some findings we have witnessed in the engines. The engines are infiltrating databases, nodes, configurations, file lists, and show them on the website. Also, successful infiltrations expose the weakly protect hosts like authentication. Here is the total result of our harmlessness evaluate. And this picture means the sensitive passive success caused by the honeypots, especially for the Shodan. Okay, the last dimension is anonymity. Failure to anonymize the privacy before displaying on the search results can lead to privacy leakage risks. Here we find phone numbers from LDAP and databases index and the entries, also the keys and screenshots. So we also think the versions is privacy data, so we put a yellow face to show that the versions is leaked. Wordsworth Shodan even have a website to give a quick way to browse all these screenshots. The website needs Shodan membership to access. In other words, it is selling the privacy. Here is a community where users can share their queries, and the top voted web queries are all about web cameras. And the seventh one, it is named live sex camera. So attackers can abuse it for illicit camera spying and accelerate the sales of voyeuristic content. Okay. All above findings have communicated with the engines, and they did not tell the reason why they do that. And this is the overview of our paper. For more details, welcome to follow to our paper. Thank you.
Any questions? If you have questions, please come up to the mic here. So, a couple of observations for you to be aware of. The first is that upstream internet service providers between your collection point and the scanner are going to, where they see aggressive scanning, they're going to block aggressive scanning. When in a past life I did large-scale internet scanning, I found faster responses the slower I scanned. And so you should expect that there's going to bias your collection results. The other thing to be aware of is that several of these organizations have the same people wearing different hats under different organizations. So you should be aware of the business side of this, who owns what, because that's going to be important as you're coordinating this information. How far do you plan to take the ethical elements of this?
About 2 months.
Oh, well, are you going to ask more questions or create more metrics for ethical behavior?
No, we think these are the important ones.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Hi, Juan Caballero, NDSS Software. So I was wondering, okay, so for example, for the specific scanning of the databases, and they are actually listing, for example, you are seeing the indexes and the database names in some of these search engines. So what is your conclusion there? I mean, shouldn't they be doing that? It's just a matter of anonymizing the data? I mean, so what is your conclusion on the ethical analysis?
We think they should at least mask the informations. And it can be better, they should not to collect this information. They should only tell that here is an LDAP server or here is a camera. Do not do anything excessive things.
Thank you.
All right, let's thank our speaker. If there's any additional questions, please.
Thank you.